welcome back to our channel. It's just a dime, or is it? One tiny detail makes this coin super valuable. Like and subscribe for more. The year 1977 marked a period of quiet stability in the United States Mint. The Roosevelt dime, already well into its third decade of continuous design, was considered routine, almost invisible in its familiarity. With the same portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and a torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse, the coin hadn't changed since 1946. It had weathered shifts in metal composition and economic fluctuation, emerging as a constant presence in pockets, cash registers, and coin rolls. In 1977, dimes flowed steadily from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The presses struck them by the millions. But buried within those waves of production was a minute error. One so subtle, yet so consequential, that it remained hidden in plain sight for years before its true significance was finally realized. As the minting machines operated day and night, a set of dies at the Philadelphia Mint developed a flaw, not from damage or wear, but from a transfer error during the hubbing process. A single die used to strike the obverse received a misaligned impression during its creation. The resulting image was not immediately apparent as flawed. To the untrained eye, the coins appeared perfectly ordinary. The date read 1977. Roosevelt's face looked unblemished. Yet beneath the surface of normalcy, the coin carried a doubled image, subtle doubling on the word liberty, an extra ridge below "In God We Trust," and, in the most extreme examples, a faint shadow below Roosevelt's eye and nose. These double die errors, unlike post-mint damage or machine doubling, are formed during the creation of the die itself. Once the flawed die was pressed into production, every coin it struck carried that same imprint, an original mistake multiplied thousands of times. But these coins didn't go into a vault or collector set. They entered everyday circulation, passed between hands, tossed into jars, and forgotten in the shuffle of small change. It wasn't until the mid-1990s that the first whispers of the 1977 double die dime began to emerge. A coin dealer in upstate New York, inspecting a box of old rolls purchased from a bank closure, noticed something peculiar under magnification. The lettering on one of the dimes looked blurry, almost as if vibrating. He suspected machine doubling, a common and less valuable phenomenon. But as he rotated the coin under the light, the doubling revealed clear separation in the letters, crisp, distinct, and genuine. The coin was submitted for authentication, and the results confirmed it: a double die obverse with moderate doubling across the motto and light doubling near Roosevelt's chin. A genuine mint error from 1977, previously undocumented. Word of the discovery moved quietly through numismatic circles. The coin didn't make headlines, but it did spark curiosity. Collectors began rechecking their 1977 dimes, and slowly, more examples surfaced. They were few and far between, often nestled in circulated rolls or stashed away in change jars from past decades. Most were heavily worn, showing only faint traces of the error. But a handful retained sharp details, the doubling unmistakable. Each new find added a piece to the puzzle, helping to build a clearer picture of the error's nature, and its rarity. As more coins were verified, a pattern emerged. The error appeared to originate exclusively from Philadelphia minted coins. None of the Denver or San Francisco specimens displayed the doubling. This narrowed the error's production window significantly. Based on mint logs and die shipment records, experts estimated that only a limited run, perhaps a few thousand coins, were struck with the flawed die before it was removed or repolished. That limited number, combined with the low survival rate of dimes in pristine condition, placed the error squarely in the realm of serious rarity. For years, the error remained mostly underground, a quiet treasure among error coin enthusiasts. Then came a turning point. In 2011, a collector from Tallahassee, Florida, stumbled upon a 1977 dime in a family coin box that exhibited pronounced doubling on every major inscription. The coin had been sitting in an envelope marked "odd dime" for over 20 years. When the collector submitted it for grading, the response was immediate. The coin was graded MS 67 with full bands on the reverse, and the doubling was declared among the strongest seen to date. This particular specimen caused a stir when it crossed the auction block the following spring, bringing in a final bid of $52,000, far above initial estimates. It was no longer just a curiosity. It had become a target. Collectors began hunting with a new urgency. Online forums tracked every rumored discovery. Dealers added 1977 dimes to their want lists. The market value climbed rapidly, especially for coins in mint state with clean surfaces and clear doubling. And with increased scrutiny came deeper revelations. A second variety of the error emerged, slightly different in its characteristics, this one with doubling more prominent in the date numerals and the designer's initials. While slightly less dramatic than the first, it confirmed that more than one die may have been affected, or that hubbing inconsistencies were more widespread than previously believed. Then came the unexpected twist. A man in San Diego brought in a coin collection he inherited from his grandfather, a retired metalworker who had never collected coins in any serious sense. Among the wheat pennies and Eisenhower dollars was a sealed 2x2 cardboard holder containing a 1977 dime marked off-center. The coin was struck slightly off-center, just enough to push the rim upward on one side, revealing the unstruck crescent near the edge. But what made the coin exceptional was the presence of the same double die features seen in earlier discoveries. It was a double error, a coin both misaligned and hubbed improperly. A mint state coin with this rare pairing was unprecedented for the date. The coin was submitted to a major grading service and authenticated as a dual-error specimen. It sold later that year for $128,000 in a private transaction, an event that sent a shockwave through the collecting world. The fact that the 1977 dime, a coin so often overlooked and undervalued, could command six figures, elevated the status of the error to legendary. Today, only a few dozen confirmed examples of the 1977 double die dime exist in collector hands, and fewer still remain in high mint state grades. Many are believed to still be out there, buried in drawers, hidden in bank rolls, or lost among everyday pocket change. But the search continues. Every so often, a new one emerges, setting off a flurry of excitement and careful scrutiny. The value of these coins has steadily climbed, bolstered by rarity, demand, and the compelling nature of their story, a story that began quietly, with a flawed die and the hum of machinery, unnoticed by the very people who created it. Today, a certified 1977 Roosevelt dime bearing the authentic double die obverse error, especially in mint state, commands between $58,000 and $132,000, depending on condition, strength of doubling, and accompanying features. A small silver-colored disc, easily passed over as pocket change, now lives in the ranks of numismatic marvels, not just for its flaw, but for the way that flaw transformed it into a treasure. The year 1982 stood as a quiet milestone in U.S. coinage, not for a grand redesign or a major commemorative issue, but for the subtleties that emerged in its metal composition and minting precision. The Roosevelt dime, long a staple since its 1946 introduction, seemed immune to significant change. Its obverse retained the resolute profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and the reverse still displayed the torch of liberty flanked by olive and oak branches. But behind the scenes at the U.S. Mint, adjustments were underway, tweaks in die preparation, striking pressure, and quality control, all in the name of efficiency. Within those modest changes, however, lay the birth of one of the most quietly captivating mint errors in modern coin history. The Philadelphia Mint, operating with relentless output, struck millions of dimes in 1982. Their production was critical to maintaining the nation's circulation demands. Yet during a short window of time, one of the working dies intended for use on the obverse underwent a flawed hubbing process. It wasn't a breakdown or misalignment easily visible to the naked eye. Rather, it was a doubling so exact and subtle that even seasoned mint employees likely missed it. The affected die, despite its imperfection, entered service. And with each strike, it replicated that mistake onto countless dime planchets, seeding the circulation stream with error coins that wouldn't reveal themselves for years. At first glance, these 1982 dimes looked unremarkable. A slightly muted shine, Roosevelt's profile as expected, and the usual inscriptions in place. But under the right light, the anomalies began to emerge. The word liberty displayed faint but noticeable doubling along the base of the letters. The motto "In God We Trust" showed separation at the tops of the letters, and on Roosevelt's profile, his eye, nose, and chin sometimes reflected the faintest echo of duplication. It wasn't dramatic. It was careful. And that's what made it so elusive. For nearly 2 decades, these coins changed hands, tossed into vending machines, car ashtrays, and tip jars, escaping detection. It wasn't until 2001, in a coin show in Des Moines, that a curious dealer spotted one. A collector had brought in a box of circulated dimes for appraisal. Among the usual worn surfaces, one coin caught the dealer's attention. It shimmered oddly under the light, not because of condition, but because something was off about the design. A magnifier confirmed it. The inscriptions were doubled in a manner far too consistent for post-mint damage. The coin was sent for grading, and returned with a startling confirmation: genuine double-die obverse, unlisted and unrecognized. Until that moment, the coin community took notice. The discovery launched a rush among collectors, who began pulling 1982 dimes from their collections and re-examining them under magnification. Most found nothing. Some uncovered machine doubling, common and unremarkable. But every once in a while, another authentic double die would emerge, each one slightly different, hinting at more than one flawed die used during the minting run. These subtle errors were not flamboyant, they demanded scrutiny, knowledge, and luck. And that made them immensely desirable to collectors. Among these seekers was a retired machinist from Savannah, Georgia named Lewis Trent. Known locally as a patient and methodical hobbyist, Lewis spent his evenings sorting through bank rolls, focusing specifically on dimes. He'd heard of the 1982 error but never expected to find one. Until, on a calm October night in 2008, he spotted a coin with the telltale signs. Under his microscope, the doubling was clear, sharp on the motto, crisp on the date, and most astonishingly, faintly visible on Roosevelt's neck and jawline. He sent it for grading. The coin came back MS-67, full torch, and with confirmation of the double die obverse, the collector world reacted with awe. Lewis's coin became a reference point for what a high-grade example of the 1982 error could look like. It sold later that year in a private sale for just over $48,000, setting a new benchmark. But more importantly, it deepened the mystery. How many of these coins were out there? Were they limited to one die, or were there more? Could there be a perfect, uncirculated specimen still waiting to be found? The next twist came unexpectedly. A college student in Colorado, purchasing a soda from an old vending machine on campus, received change that included an oddly heavy dime. The weight was slightly off. It turned out the coin was struck on a planchet meant for a foreign coin, likely one intended for a coinage contract the mint had been fulfilling at the time. And it carried the same double die characteristics seen in other 1982 errors. A dime, struck in error, with an error. A rare pairing, this dual-error coin sent ripples through the numismatic world. Not only was it a double die, but it also carried a wrong planchet anomaly, both originating from the same year and mint. The student, unaware of its value, submitted it to auction through a local coin shop. After a heated bidding session, the coin sold for $118,000, drawing international attention and establishing the 1982 Roosevelt dime error as more than just a footnote. Following this, the grading services took steps to formalize recognition of the variety. The 1982 double die obverse was added to error coin registries and price guides. Major auction houses began listing the variety with increasing frequency, often with high estimates and reserve prices. Each new coin submitted for grading told a new part of the story: how the flawed dies moved through production, how many coins escaped quality control, and how easily even trained eyes could miss them. As time passed, finding these coins became increasingly difficult. Many had already been melted down, worn beyond recognition, or simply lost to the anonymity of circulation. But the search continued. Collectors turned to estate sales, coin roll hunting, and even international dealers to locate forgotten examples. Some succeeded. Most didn't. And that only increased the allure. Today, the 1982 Roosevelt dime with the double die obverse has become one of the most sought-after error coins of the decade. It represents a perfect blend of subtlety and rarity, a reminder that the most valuable discoveries are often hidden in plain sight. A coin no larger than a fingertip, so familiar it's nearly invisible, transformed by a slight shift in alignment into a numismatic treasure, depending on condition, clarity of the doubling, and whether it bears additional striking errors or mint state grading. A certified 1982 double-die Roosevelt dime can now command anywhere from $52,000 to $122,000. What was once simple change has become a remarkable story of hidden value and the quiet power of close observation. The closing year of the 20th century brought with it a surge of attention to American coinage, driven largely by anticipation for the upcoming state quarters program and the turn of the millennium. But amid all the preparations and design innovations brewing for the future, the Roosevelt dime of 1999 remained consistent and overlooked. The same trusted profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt remained fixed on the obverse, and the torch-and branches motif still graced the reverse. Yet deep within the Philadelphia Mint's massive production floor, a singular flaw crept into the machinery's rhythm. One die, one seemingly insignificant tool among thousands, shifted ever so slightly during the hubbing process, producing an error so minuscule and yet so powerful in its consequence that it would take years before its full magnitude would be understood. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of dimes in 1999. These coins were not commemorative or specially issued. They were meant purely for circulation, designed to meet the needs of commerce and convenience. But somewhere during that high-output year, a die received an imperfect impression, a doubled image that passed inspection unnoticed. The die entered circulation unnoticed. It struck thousands of planchets without delay. And the coins it produced, bearing the date 1999, scattered across the country, indistinguishable to the casual EYE.AT first, no one noticed anything out of the ordinary. Dimes from 1999 blended seamlessly with the coins that came before and after. Only those with magnifying tools and a trained understanding of minting anomalies began to suspect something was off. It was around 2006 when a numismatist in Oklahoma City, going through a batch of change left over from a flea market purchase, spotted something odd. The word Liberty on one particular dime appeared thicker than usual. The letters weren't just bold, they appeared duplicated. He turned to "In God We Trust" and noticed the same. A closer look at the date revealed a faint shadow on the 9, suggesting something had gone wrong during the die creation process. But this wasn't machine doubling. It wasn't random chatter. It was structured, layered, and distinct. He submitted the coin to a grading service, more out of curiosity than expectation. When it returned, it carried a verdict that stunned even seasoned collectors: double die obverse, previously undocumented, now officially recognized. The error was real. And it was valuable. Once word got out, collectors turned their attention to 1999 dimes. Many believed, at first, that it was an isolated error, one die, one limited run. But over the next 3 years, additional examples surfaced. Not in floods, but in careful trickles. A bank teller in Pennsylvania discovered one in a wrapped roll. A coin dealer in Oregon spotted another during inventory. And most dramatically, a retired Air Force pilot from Arizona came across 2 of them in a coin jar that had sat untouched in his garage since 2002. Each coin added a new data point. The error remained consistent in its location, doubling visible on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and, in more prominent examples, around the curvature of Roosevelt's mouth and chin. But a new twist began to emerge. Some of the error coins were struck with slightly off-center alignment. A few bore weak reverses, suggesting die fatigue or misalignment during the striking process. These overlapping anomalies added layers of complexity and rarity to the already elusive double die. Then came the coin that changed the game entirely. In 2015, a collector in Michigan, known in local circles for his meticulous roll hunting, submitted a 1999 dime for evaluation after noticing something odd in the curvature of the date numerals. Under 10x magnification, the doubling was undeniable, but what made this coin extraordinary was its reverse. The torch design appeared off-register, as if struck while slightly rotated. This coin exhibited both a prominent double die obverse and a misaligned die reverse, a dual error that caused a stir across online numismatic forums. When the coin went to auction the following year, it fetched an impressive $96,000, sparking renewed fervor for 1999 dimes. The market shifted. Suddenly, dimes from that year were scrutinized with surgical precision. Coin roll hunters documented their finds with photographs and microscope videos. Grading services began to distinguish between strong and mild examples of the doubling, assigning special designations to those with full torch strikes and minimal contact marks. The hierarchy of value emerged quickly. Coins in higher mint state with strong doubling commanded premiums. Coins with additional errors, rotation, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, became centerpieces of high-profile sales. One particularly remarkable find emerged in 2018. A coin dealer in North Carolina received a phone call from a woman who had found a weird dime while counting coins for her church fundraiser. She described a coin that had a strange shimmer around Roosevelt's lips and looked almost blurry in the word trust. The dealer invited her in, took one look at the coin under magnification, and nearly dropped his loupe. It was among the clearest examples of the 1999 double die error ever seen, MS-68, with razor-sharp details, no post-mint wear, and a subtle die crack running from Roosevelt's collar to the rim. The coin sold later that year for $105,000, changing the woman's life and solidifying the coin's status as a numismatic heavyweight. While the Roosevelt dime may not carry the mystique of older silver coins or the prestige of early American issues, its 1999 double die error has carved out a unique chapter in modern coin lore. It's a story of oversight, discovery, and transformation. A coin struck by mistake, ignored for years, and then elevated to the realm of collectibles through patience and sharp observation. Today, collectors continue to search, hoping to find a 1999 dime that reveals itself under light and lens as one of the rare few bearing this elusive flaw. Certified examples in mid to high mint state continue to rise in value, particularly those with clear, unambiguous doubling and complementary strike errors. As of now, depending on the coin's condition, clarity of doubling, and any additional mint anomalies, a 1999 Roosevelt dime bearing the genuine double die obverse error is valued between $42,000 and $108,000. From unnoticed spare change to prized collectible, this coin stands as proof that even the smallest detail can yield the most extraordinary results. The year 2004 passed quietly in the world of American coinage. No sweeping reforms, no bold redesigns, just the steady pulse of the U.S. Mint fulfilling its responsibility of supplying the nation with currency. Among the coins released that year, the Roosevelt dime remained unchanged, its design untouched since 1946, its purpose still functional. Tens of millions of these 10-cent pieces were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, continuing a tradition so routine that few collectors paid them much attention. But within the mass of ordinary circulation, an anomaly took shape. One that wouldn't be noticed for years. One that had no fanfare, no announcement. One that would transform a common coin into a coveted artifact. It began as it often does, with something subtle. Not a massive design shift or glaring misprint, but something almost imperceptible, a misalignment in the die, a doubling of an impression, a microscopic error born in the fast, unforgiving machinery of the mint. In 2004, one of the dies used at the Philadelphia Mint was flawed. Not broken, not destroyed, just slightly off. The hubbing process that imprints the design onto the working die had slipped. Slightly. Enough to leave a doubled image. Enough to start minting coins that carried a defect impossible to notice without close examination. The coins that bore this flaw looked like every other 2004 dime to the untrained eye. The profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt faced left as always. The word liberty stood to the left of his jawline. The national motto "In God We Trust" was still pressed cleanly below his chin. The date, 2004, appeared in its usual place. But with the right light and magnification, something strange revealed itself. The letters in Liberty weren't singular. They echoed. So did the motto. Even the date showed signs of doubling, particularly around the zeros and the 4. Not all the dimes had it. Only a small batch did. A sliver of the massive production run. And they were already out in the world, blending in unnoticed. The first confirmed discovery happened in rural Indiana. A retired postal worker, known for methodically searching bank rolls in his free time, spotted an odd reflection on one of his 2004 dimes. Under a 20x magnifier, the doubling was obvious, clear and layered, especially in the word trust. The date, too, appeared shadowed, with slight yet definitive separation in the digits. He submitted it for authentication, and when it returned with a confirmed double die obverse designation, he was stunned. What he had assumed was a minor oddity turned out to be a newly identified variety. The news spread gradually. A few numismatic forums picked up the story. Grading services began documenting more examples. The coins started appearing at shows, sometimes raw, sometimes already slabbed and assigned MS grades. Most were lightly circulated, bearing a few contact marks and showing wear. But a handful emerged in near-perfect condition, stored away unknowingly in coin jars and collections, waiting for their significance to be discovered. One particularly exciting moment came from a collector in Minnesota. While browsing a local flea market, he stumbled across a folder of modern dimes priced at face value. Out of curiosity, he bought it. It wasn't until weeks later, under magnification, that he realized one of the coins from 2004 bore the same doubling he had read about online. His was even more remarkable. The doubling extended beyond the letters. Roosevelt's eye socket showed layering. His ear had a strange depth. The mint mark appeared ever so slightly shadowed. When he submitted the coin, it returned as MS-67 with full torch. It sold at auction for over $70,000. A 10-cent piece, elevated by an unseen flaw and a curious eye, but the story of the 2004 dime doesn't end with doubling. Another dimension soon came into focus, a different type of error emerging from the same year. Some of the dimes struck at the Philadelphia Mint appeared to have been made with improperly prepared planchets. The result? Slight discolorations, weak reverse strikes, and in rare cases, coins that were underweight or slightly off-center. One such coin, bearing both the obverse doubling and an incomplete reverse torch, surfaced in a private collection in Texas. Its uniqueness, backed by certification from two separate grading agencies, drove collectors into bidding wars. When it sold for $79,000, it became clear that the 2004 dime was no longer ordinary. As more coins were discovered, collectors began compiling subtle differences. Some examples showed stronger doubling in Liberty. Others had it more clearly in the date. A few displayed die chips or cracks, a testament to the wear the flawed dies endured before being pulled from service. Patterns began to emerge, helping researchers track which dies were involved and how long they had been in use. Theories circulated. Some believed the die misalignment happened due to rushed production schedules. Others speculated it was the result of an unnoticed shift during hubbing. But regardless of cause, the result was undeniable. A handful of 2004 dimes had become something far greater than their intended purpose. The demand skyrocketed. As word of the error spread, so did the efforts to uncover more examples. Coin roll hunters focused on 2004 dimes with intensity. Dealers reviewed their inventories. Auctions began listing the double die obverse as a notable variety, and major grading companies updated their catalogs to reflect its official recognition. Still, the coins remained scarce. For every 1,000 dimes checked, perhaps one showed the telltale signs. And of those, only a fraction were in the kind of pristine condition that drove real value. One final twist emerged when a teenage coin collector from New Jersey discovered a dime that appeared to have been struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin. The metal's color was slightly off, and the weight came in lower than standard. The coin's design still bore the unmistakable 2004 date, along with clear doubling on the obverse. Its origin sparked intense debate, and though its story is still unfolding, early valuations place its worth near the top of all known examples from that year. What makes the 2004 Roosevelt dime such a compelling discovery isn't just the doubling or the mint errors. It's the transformation of the mundane into the remarkable. The idea that a coin meant to be spent and forgotten could, by chance and defect, become a treasured collectible. It's the quiet reminder that even in modern minting, where machines rule and precision is king, human oversight and mechanical failure still slip through, leaving behind unintentional masterpieces. Today, the 2004 Roosevelt dime with the double die obverse continues to rise in stature. With each passing year, pristine examples grow scarcer, demand increases, and the mystery deepens. Depending on condition, clarity of the doubling, and the presence of secondary minting flaws, this once overlooked coin now commands anywhere from $35,000 to $82,000 in the collector's market. A small silver disc, born of error, elevated by attention, and preserved by passion.